All right, investors. So I'm bringing in a very magical company today. It's called IonQ. I think that's how, at least I think it's pronounced. So this is basically a cloud computing focused quantum computer enabled, computational service company. It's very high tech. It's very growthy. It's not a value company like I normally do. But I have lots of tabs. If we go over here, you'll see them on the top. Lots of tabs open, and I'm going to be talking about all kinds of things about the company. I'm going to talk about competition. We want to talk about like the technology, etc., and some of the things I've learned about quantum computing over the course of this research. And then I'm going to look at the financials. I'm going to look at how the competitors are doing. I'm going to look at their growth, breakdown of their revenue, and overall what my opinion is of the company and what I think the future holds for it. So let's dive in, shall we? There's a lot to uncover here. Okay, so first, this is the website. It looks very nerdy, as one might expect. So we have a bunch of partners down here at the bottom that you can see. Now, partners, what they mean by people, maybe perhaps they're either invested in the company or use the services or affiliated with them, or they host their services, like Amazon Bracket, for example, hosts the quantum computing services of IonQ. And it might be just, people that are using their service on a more like corporate level. Moving on. What can we learn here? So some of the products over here, they have the Ion Harmony, the IonQ Aria, which is their flagship product. It has 25 qubits. Now, don't worry about it if you don't know what that means. And the Forte is kind of like their new high-end model. It's got 35 qubits, and then they're trying to combine the Forte into Forte Enterprise to kind of have large-scale computations. So furthermore, this is the uptime of their systems. The simulator is always up, apparently. The Ion Aria 1, which you can find on Amazon Brackets and other cloud providing services, has an uptime of roughly 50%. And the other one, Aria 2, is under maintenance right now, has about 74.14% uptime. Now, when they say uptime, I don't actually know if that means that it's being used by someone at that time and they're being paid for it, or uptime just means available for customers to use. I'm not sure which one of those is actually true. So I'm hoping that it's being used, but actually maybe not, because if it's not being used, that means more revenue potential for people who do want to use the computational power in the future. So it has a few other metrics in here. Average time in queue. Now, the quantum simulator is always up. Its downtime is measured in milliseconds. So that's pretty cool. Like I said, their website's pretty nerdy. It's got, all kinds of instructions for people who actually can use these type of systems like you might expect. It has a whole like Q&A section or instructional manual type of sections. Like it works on Python through a software named QuizKit. I don't know how to pronounce it exactly, but I noticed that IBM uses the same thing. I guess all of these quantum computing computers use probably the same software right now because it's not that widespread. Although you might be surprised how widespread it is when we go into the competitors. This is a brief video explaining how quantum computing works. I'm probably going to link it inside of the the comments or the description of the video so you can learn a little bit about it. I found it pretty informative. It talks mostly about the solid state type of computing, but it mentions all the other ones like the ion trap, which is what the IonQ uses as its technology to do quantum calculations. Now, this is the IBM site. IBM is, in my opinion, the leader in this technology in quantum computing. Now, IonQ would say they're the leader, but I think from what I can read here, IBM's breaking records when it comes to like the size of systems, and although it's measured differently because, solid state is different than IonQ or atomic natural atom calculations, it seems like they've put a lot more investment, a lot more time, and they've been running them for a little bit longer with this type of scale than IonQ, but I might be wrong here. Now, you can actually go on the IBM site and you can open up a plan and use 10 minutes of runtime for free per month. And then you got to pay at a rate of $96 a minute or $48 a minute with a premium plan. I'm sure for large operations, they're negotiable, all this stuff, but it's pretty pricey to run a computer. It really reminds me of the times when I wasn't really of age at those times, but when you really needed to kind of like buy or borrow time from an actual computer, which were held in big rooms inside of universities and things like that, and you have to pay to use that computer, and you had to like schedule, etc. Kind of like what you would do with some of the like the James Webb telescopes and all that, those kinds of like unique high-end machinery that costs a ton of money to produce. People have to kind of rent time, and time is very scarce, especially if there's a lot of demand for that technology. I'm actually not sure, even after all my research, how in demand cloud computing actually is. So there is, people that say that there's a lot of demand and things that are actually being done currently. So this is, for example, AWS is on Amazon. You can get right here, you can get access to a few different services like IQM and Rigetti, which used superconducting gate-based processes, IonQ, which is the only ion trap processor that I can find commercially available, and then a natural atom-based quantum processor called QERA. So you can use three different types of quantum computing technologies. These are some of the companies that are currently clients of these computing technologies. So we got Fidelity for financial concepts. Then we got Pascal for chemistry solutions. And then we got M&S and AD for insurance services tests. I can see how it'd be useful because quantum computing takes a little bit of a different way of computing data, right? It's good at like GPS, find the shortest route type of solutions rather than a straight computational thing, something that a classical computer will do a better job at and at a much cheaper price, might I add. So I can see how those kind of large scale insurance companies, financials, things that actually deal like with economics or biology will be done much more efficiently on a quantum computer because of the scale and kind of find the shortest route type of solutions. So Bracket on Amazon offers all of these services, and you can also find them individually through their own websites. IonQ offers its own cloud service. So I was doing some research here, and I was trying to find out the benefits of ion gate versus superconducting to see which one will win out. And apparently the difference is, for the most part, that ion gate based quantum computers like IonQs are about 1,000 times slower than a superconducting computer. However, it's much more stable, it has a much higher uptime, and its error rate is smaller. So, or decoherence rate or error rate. So what happens with quantum computers is, because things at that small scale are very unstable, right? Small particles tunnel around all the time, they disappear, they appear, they flip for no reason, or for a reason that we don't know. So things happen where the system goes decoherent. And basically when that happens, the entire progress that's been done up to that point since the last decoherence is basically deleted. It's gone. And so they have to go in, reset the computer, etc. do whatever they got to do to get it back up running again and test again. Now, there are ways around these problems by adding more qubits or what have you. On that video that I'm going to link in, it will explain all the different, well, some of the possible different solutions. But that is a problem. Some of these guys, scientists, refer to it as noise, and in order to sometimes fix some of these errors, they'll have to run the simulations multiple times to try to figure out the actual solution. So there's a lot of stuff. It's very complicated and I'm sure very costly, not only to build, but to operate and to navigate. I'm sure that with time, that will smoothen out. It will get better and better. But what's interesting about the ion trap gate computers is that they can actually be put into a chip. However, the cooling situation there is a little bit substandard. So IonQ is a bit of a disadvantage from other companies who use more classical cooling technologies because they have to use lasers and all kinds of complicated technology to keep that their environment in a vacuum, and it's much harder than supercooling it with conventional technology like some other companies do. So, moving on, let's take a look at the. Oh, by the way, we gotta look at the competitors. Apparently, there are 13 companies or so that 13 companies that are doing quantum computing. I'm still. That was the overview. I'm going into judgment. I'm going into competitors now. So 13 companies that are listed at least on this article, but it seems like there's quite a lot actually. It's a very popular thing. It's very cutting edge, but it's very popular. So we got IBM, of course, I think the leader. Then we got Google AI, Quantum. Google also provides cloud computing, just like Amazon. Zandu. We got Rigetti, that one that was just on Amazon AWS. Amazon Bracket, which is basically a provider of all these services. Azure, Microsoft has its own, and I think is also a cloud provider, just like Amazon and Google. Quantum Inspire, Forge, D-Wave. D-Wave's the longest standing company. I actually have the website. Where is it? Pull up the website. I guess I shut it down. That's all right. But it's pretty cool. Here, I'll do it. No, that's not it. That's okay. It's a cool website, but you have to like sign up for all these people and talk to representatives. It's like a big deal if you want to use their services. If you go to the cloud, you can probably use some of the more popular ones without having to have a full-on relationship with the company. So AQT from Austria, Oxford Quantum Circuits, and of course Alibaba is offering cloud computing as well now in China. So 13 is Quantinum, more cloud computing services. So the competition is actually kind of stacking up. And what's interesting about it is there's a bit of a battleground. All the different companies use different types of quantum computers to try to differentiate themselves, and it's actually unclear which one is going to win. So far, IonQ's actually been going down in price as a stock. So if we go to final financial analysis here, if we go to if we go to IonQ's on stockanalysis.com, you'll see that the price has actually kind of gone down. It's somewhat flat over the past 5 years, but it's definitely been going down since it peaked out on 2023 on September 5th at 1934. So at the same time that it's been going down, actually, though, the fundamentals of the company kind of improving. And here's what I'm talking about. So if we go to the financials, go to quarterly, the revenue is increasing without a hitch. It only stayed flat for 2 quarters. It's been a steady increase. And so you might think, okay, well, a revenue, but that's not like consulting services, right? I mean, it's only what, 11.3 1.38 million last quarter. That's like consulting fee status, right? Well, I put up their 10Q. 10Q is the quarterly report. And in here, we'll find the most, in my opinion, valuable segment of the report, which breaks down the revenue. So it says specialized quantum computing hardware, 7.3 million. So I'm guessing that this means revenue from the cloud computing services. I can't imagine it means something else. And the second type of revenue is platform consulting and support services. So basically, them lending their expertise out for a price for $4 million last quarter. So this 7 million is actually real revenue that's basically automatic, right, from the cloud. At least that's kind of what I'm taking it at, unless they're actually selling hardware in order to put the numbers up here. So it's still unclear. I would have to like interview someone at the company to try to find out, okay, like what exactly do you mean? Or are we even allowed to know the further breakdown of this line over here? I'm not sure. But here's an interesting line that maybe some people missed out on. Remaining performance obligations. As of June 30, 2024, across approximately 59.5 million of revenue is expected to be recognized from remaining performance obligations that are unsatisfied, etc., etc. So they've got another 60 million that's coming into the company. So that's a lot. That's a lot. They made only 11 million this quarter, and they got another 60 million queued up, basically. 6-0. All right. I don't know what this is here. Here's some other interesting stats about IonQ. It's basically insider owned. I've heard some rumors that these insiders are people like Michael Dell from Dell Computers, Bill Gates, some other famous names. So I think the company has pretty solid backing. Only 12.19% of the company is in mutual funds. 20% in other institutional investors. I think the biggest one is Vanguard. And look at this interesting stat. Only 1.77% is actually owned by public companies and individual investors. Only 1.77. Okay. So I think these are some of the individual investors that are invested in there. Some of the bigger ones. Or maybe not. This is just profiles. Never mind. I don't know. But moving on, we're going to go to the NASDAQ, and we're going to go to insider trading. Now, insider trading, it looks like after every quarter, a bunch of these people get a bunch of stock or something, and they just sell it off, right? Par for the course, no big deal. So thankfully, I can sift it by buys and sells, and it looks like somebody actually bought stock on March 5th of this year to the tune of 115 shares. And the sells, of course, are ubiquitous. Everybody's selling all the time, indiscriminately. So it makes me think that that's actually not tied to their desire. It's kind of like their salary, right? They sell a bunch of stock and they get paid. I'm not sure exactly how the workings of the company operate, but this buy right here is an open market order from what I can tell. Furthermore, we're going to take a look on Market Screener, and you'll see some of the competitors here in the cloud space, in the cloud computing space. There's some interesting graphs here on the right. We got some projections of revenue and earnings. The companies expect to actually ramp up losses as it expands and manufactures and throws money at R&D in the future to try to compete in this war for quantum computing. But in general, it's one of the smaller companies. You can see its market cap is only $1.5 billion, and virtually every one of their competitors is bigger, including some of the small companies here, and even this, what is that, a Singaporean company here? So overall, I think that it's a small company, but it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity. They have enough cash to last. As you can see, its market cap is 1.46 billion, enterprise value 1.1 billion. That means they have 0.36 billion or $360 million to try to operate the company. They probably burned that in like 3 quarters, but they have revenue now, and plus they can always sell more shares. Let's take a look at how many shares they actually sell and how fast they dilute. It's not that fast. As you can see from 2022 and 23, they haven't actually sold that many shares. Let's go by quarter and see if that gives us a little bit more definition. It's not that much, really. It's mostly flat. They sell only a little bit of shares to fund their expenses. And now that they have revenue coming in, I think they're going to be surviving a lot longer and fighting a lot longer to try to get profitable eventually. If the prices of quantum computing stay high like this and the competition doesn't really kill them too much, I think it's pretty promising. I mean, one of the biggest things that I'm worried about is the amount of applications that quantum computing can have. Obviously, I'm not an expert in the field, and I'm sure that it's going to be used by financial industry and insurance industry and biology even further. But I'm just not sure about the demand side of the equation. I think the supply is definitely forging ahead. Like at least 10 companies are competing pretty hardcore to capture the market of quantum computing in many, many different ways. And I think it's a very still early stage in this war of computing between these companies, and only the most well-funded with the highest expertise win. Oh, here's something that I was going to show you, right? We'll go to IonQ, Glassdoor, and look at what's going on here. So they actually have a 4.2. They have a 4.2 rating for people that work there, and the reviews are really good. They always say, okay, well, it's really challenging problems. You're always working around smart people, etc. And for cons, the benefits probably not the best. They're still trying to figure out, how to forge ahead. So there's a lot of like last minute repairs that have to happen and all hands on board emergency situations, and it's just a very fast paced, no time for life type of environment. So people who are suited well for that, they probably find it a very invigorating and challenging and satisfying and rewarding environment to work in there. But people who are working for like more of a work-life balance probably hate it. But a 4.2 rating is actually really good out of 29 people. And most of them still work there. Like I was scrolling down through, and most of the people who are leaving these reviews actually still work in the company and have been for over 3 years. The company was founded, I believe, in 2015. D-Wave, the oldest one, was founded back in 1999. So quantum computing has been around for a long time. I'm wondering when we're going to reach that, exponential moment for quantum computing when things are really going to take off. But it seems like it's still really, really early in like the first inning. So I don't know. If you're kind of like an early investor and you want to stay, this is my conclusion, by the way, and you want to stay in the company for a very long time, maybe 20 years or something like that, and see if it can ramp up. It could ramp up in the next 2-3 years. Maybe there's some breakthrough and the Forte starts working so efficiently and effectively and reliably that we won't need for such large like error correcting and decoherence correcting methods and emergencies and downtime. You guys saw the downtime, right? I mean, look at how much maintenance is required. Like 50% uptime is not that promising. And this is their quote unquote flagship computer, the Aria 1 flagship and Aria 2. So they have two of them. So for being flagship, right, not a lot of uptime. And the solid state computers are probably even worse. The superconducting, excuse me. But they look so cool though, by the way. Okay, let me show you. They look so cool. All right, let me see. Where was it? All right, right here. Check this out. Look at the picture of this thing. How cool does that look, right? Look at the other one. Look at this one. Oh, on the top right, do you see that little picture? How cool is that, huh? But anyways, looks are not necessarily indicative of results or functionality, as we've discovered through life, right? Okay, so my conclusion is that this is very much a growth company. Of course, like all the others, it will take a long time for it to flourish. So if you need the money now, or you need the money in like a year, probably not the right thing to invest in. I think the minimum of like 5 to 10 years time horizon to give this a real shot. The thing is, you might actually have to even keep averaging down as time progresses, because as they get into like a more hardware intensive, more scalable portion of their journey, they're going to need more money. They're going to be selling more shares. So I think that you invest some now, and you got to be ready to keep reinvesting in if you believe in the company and if you think it's promising, to keep buying shares as the stock goes back down as they dilute. That's kind of how you can. It's gotta work. Otherwise, putting some in now, and even if the company makes a bunch of money later on, you're probably not going to benefit as much because the company's so diluted. So those are my 2 pennies on this company. Like, if you're into the tech, if you think it's promising, I kind of think it's promising, but I'm a layman, right? I don't know that much about it, only from what I've been able to figure out through my research here. So far, I just bought 50 shares because it will motivate me to learn more about the technology in the company. I might exit or add on depending on what happens, or as I learn more. But you got to make your own decision here. So just be warned that it's one of those companies where it burns through cash. It's a growth company, and you are expected to fund it over and over and over again until eventually at one time it reaches scale. It develops that product, that breakthrough product, and it starts making real money. Or perhaps that model exists right now, and there's just an incredibly large influx of demand for cloud or for quantum cloud computing, that the revenue explodes, and we actually start seeing earnings in the company, which would be quite amazing. All right, well, hopefully this helped in your research. I had a lot of fun doing the research, but let me know if you have any questions. Also, if you own the company, let me know. Or if you think I got something or everything wrong, please let me know down in the comments below. Or if you have something to add to what I've already said, or something I should be looking at, also comment below. All right, peace.